Hi, welcome back. We're going to be working in Runners Lunge today. Sometimes people call it low lunge. And this is a pose so many people take for granted and just kind of bypass as a transition. But there's a lot of power in Runner's Lunge that we're going to talk about today to hopefully make this a pose all its own. All right, so from tabletop position, Lainey's going to step her right foot forward. Perfect. So when we come into Runner's Lunge, really important to make sure you are setting up your foot so that it's flat on the ground. So look at your students. Are they up on their toes? Are they back on their heel? Do they need to physically bring their foot even more forward? We have to make those adjustments and assessments first. Second, we want the knee on top of the ankle. That's going to create the most secure foundation that when they push into that front foot, they're going to have a really strong reaction in all the muscles of the legs, glutes, and core. Awesome. So this could be a variation, just down on the knee, fingertips on the floor. Now, if by chance you have someone that has short arms or maybe a little bit more full in the middle, we have some little people that practice here at the studio with us. They may need some blocks in order to make that work. So Lainey's up on blocks now. You can tell she has a lot more space. For a pregnant mom expecting, that would be a great variation as well to be able to get yourself into the position. I'm going to have Lainey come back to her fingertips though. And now from this place, roll your back toes under and lift the knee. So Lainey's going to do that right now. This is a lot of times where people say, they go, okay, what's next? I'm going to have Lainey take her hand of her right hip, since that's the hip that's forward, and literally and physically pull it back. So she's going to pull that hip back and kind of pull the thigh down and out so that she feels like the glute and the hamstring of the front leg are underneath her. You kind of feel that? So she should feel her whole leg kind of work a little bit harder than before. This is also going to make her sacrum more level. You can bring that hand down. Versus having this hip sink towards the floor, or the hip of the back leg. Perfect. A great checkpoint for Runner's Lunge is to try to lift your hands up off the floor. Can you maintain the strength and stability of that lunge? Sometimes yes, sometimes, no. And it's all dependent on what you're doing with your lower body. All right, I'm going to have Lainey step back with her front foot again into tabletop. What about coming from downward facing dog into Runner's Lunge? Okay, so if we do that, we're going to come up into down dog. We're going to go over down dog in another video. And I just have her simply, not even lift the leg up to the ceiling, but try to step forward. And try to get that leg forward. She has long arms and is fairly thin framed. It was fairly easy for her to get that foot forward. But in the effort that it doesn't, she could, now step forward with this leg for me. She could lift this palm up off the floor. Go back, go back, go back. Lift this palm barely up off the floor, just to kind of open the side of her body to step that leg forward. Awesome. So now again, in Runner's Lunge, she's going to roll the back toes under, lift the knee, square off the hips by drawing the hip back with her hand. Awesome. Press up through the thigh of the back leg, and now keeping pressure down through the front big toe. Imagine hugging your thighs together like you're holding a piece of paper between the legs. You should have seen her lift about 2 inches. Awesome. This is the difference between waiting in Runner's Lunge and active. And then finally, staying where she's at to lift both hands off the floor and hover. So she's just going to stay nice and low. No, she's not going to lift. So she's in a hovering Runner's Lunge. It's a great reminder of the power of this pose. So when you can bring your hands down. When you teach this pose to your students, take the time to teach them this as a pose, not just as a transition, because this will set the foundation for poses like high lunge. Nice job.